So today we are going to be looking at Claude Bot. Now, if you've never seen this, basically is a new bot that's just come out. You can check it out here on the GitHub. And this is like a personal assistant that just runs 24/7. So for example, here you can see on the GitHub, the Claude, this bot has been connected to WhatsApp directly, which means that you can use it 24/7 pretty much, as you can see. And it's like a personal assistant that runs on your own devices. So it can answer you on the channels you already use: WhatsApp, Telegram, Slack, Discord, Google Chat, Signal, etc. And it can render a live canvas you control as well. Some people are actually using this directly to clear inboxes, send emails, manage.
I actually didn't quite get the hype until now. But after using it for a bit, I think that I finally understand it. And I want this to be a simple but effective tutorial on how you can set it up and what you should configure it with. We will go step by step. First, let's talk about what it is and how you should go about setting it up. ClaudeBot is kind of like Claude Code, but it can be called upon like a person. So, let's say that you use something like Discord to talk with people. Then, ClaudeBot can basically appear there as a person that is available 24/7 and does the work for you. It is really amazing if you think about it. But it is not just that.
8 hours, I've been playing with an AI tool that has completely changed my life. It's called ClaudeBot and it is a 24/7 AI agent employee that works for you all day and night. It can control a computer, it has infinite memory, and it can do anything a human being can do. It's literally like having your own employee. I think I'm prepared to say, and this is not hyperbolic, this is the best technology I've ever used in my life, and by far the best application of AI I've ever seen. This is what they wanted Claude Code to be. In this video, I'll show you how it works, how to set it up for yourself, and show you 6 things I've been doing over the last 48 hours of ClaudeBot that have changed my life. I'll also, towards the end of the video,
you tell them, nothing more. But agentic workflows are different. You basically give them an outcome, not just a flow, and they figure out the steps by themselves. So in this video, I'm gonna explain the shift, and then I'm gonna build one live so you can see just how practical it already is. So let's first take a look at the difference between the new agentic tech versus the old way of doing things. So what does agentic actually mean? Well, if you've been building an end-to-end for a while, you know the drill. You drag a node, you configure it, you connect it to the next one, you test the flow, you hit an error, you read the error message, you figure out what went wrong, you fix it, and then you test it again, which means every API connection, every variable, every condition, that's all on you. But with agentic, it's a bit different. Instead of telling the system how to do something, you just tell it what you want in plain English. So you explain where the data is coming from, what needs to happen, and then where it should end up. The agent then figures out the rest. So just think about it like you're hiring an actual human developer. You wouldn't go in there and explain every single line of code. You would just explain the outcome that you're looking for, what problem you're trying to solve, what tools you're working with, and what the end result should look like.
11:47 p.m. My phone rings. The client on the other line says the system is completely down. Demo is tomorrow and $60,000 contract is on the line. Now this is a production war story. What went wrong, how we debugged it, and more importantly, what we changed and what you can learn from it. So let's get started, guys. So let's start with the context. See, this was 8 months ago. The client
wanted to see some real benefits come from AI. Things are starting to look up. And we've now got something that I think fulfills my original expectation of what I wanted AI to do, which is basically manage all of the boring tasks in my digital life. These include things like managing my emails, automatically replying to business requests, updating my accounting software, and even helping me to save money by monitoring the prices of flights, all whilst letting me know when a good deal is available. Of course, all of this has been promised before. However, the difference this time is that this is an open source piece of software running on my own private server, which means it can do some more interesting things, like building and publishing the Linux version of my latest app whenever I ask it to, or turning my raw thoughts and ideas into concrete linear tickets. Perhaps my favorite use case, however, is that it can manage the actual machine it's running on, whether it's installing applications, improving my system's security, or just increasing its own capabilities. Yes, the AI future that I was hoping for is finally here.
Is that the systems that scale don't often look like what the frameworks recommend. So industry consensus often compares agents to human teams. They share context, they coordinate dynamically, they operate continuously. You see this even in cases like the Google press release for the Agent Development Kit. The frameworks provide a kind of elaborate infrastructure for inter-agent communication, but almost all of it is unproductively incorrect or just wrong, but wrong in ways that only become apparent when you try to scale, which is obviously what really matters. And this is having real world implications, right? This is not just theoretical multi-agent problems. Gartner predicts 40% of agentic AI projects are going to be canceled by next year, by 2027.
It becomes running all of the time without you saying so 24/7. Now ask yourself, is this something that you want to be running on your computer 24/7 with all of your info? Or even if you're doing what other people are doing and installing it on a burner computer, then it won't be as effective. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, because I do have a third option where I've let Manus install Claude Bot for me on its own little droplet. Now, I don't know if this is going to be around forever, using this tool in this way and having Manus spin it up for you. So you're going to want to watch this entire video right now, because I've seen methods like this that I uncover get patched up pretty quickly. And so if you're interested in using, what is Claude Bot? Imagine if Siri actually worked. It remembered everything you told it, handled real tasks, and messaged you first instead of waiting to be asked. That is Claude Bot. It allows normal people that aren't super tech savvy to take part in this AI landscape, and it's why people are freaking out. This thing doesn't live on a website, it doesn't require copy-paste prompts, and it doesn't reset its memory every single time you have a conversation with it. It lives where you already are: WhatsApp, iMessage, Slack, Telegram, and it remembers your habits, your projects, your preferences, the things you do on a day-to-day basis, and random thoughts for a week ago, like things that you would maybe tell a personal assistant. That's the breakthrough, but it's also the danger, because once AI has memory, continuity, and a proactive control with sending emails, moving files, running programs around, controlling your browser, and lots.
AI automation is about to change in a way that will make many of today's workflows feel outdated. Most workflows people build right now do exactly what you tell them to do, step by step, and nothing more. You design the flow, connect the nodes, set the conditions, test it, fix errors, and repeat. It works, and it can be powerful. But instead of giving the system a strict recipe, you give it an outcome. You describe what good looks like, where the data comes from, what must happen to it, and where it should end up. Then the agent figures out the steps, tests them, and improves them. That is the shift, actually, from manually assembling each piece of the puzzle to defining what the finished puzzle should look like. Then I'll walk you through a practice.
Welcome to Front Page. What matters is not who writes the code, but who controls the system that runs it, end quote. This was said by Martin Fowler, software engineer and author. And this quote is relevant in setting the tone for our first story on Front Page this evening, as there is an unease moving through engineering teams right now, particularly inside large enterprises. Teams are getting smaller, not because demand has weakened, but because the arithmetic has changed. In yesterday's tech world, shipping a production-grade application meant assembling a team, and 20 engineers per team did not raise any eyebrows. But today, the same outcome is increasingly driven by one person, coordinating a system of agents, and Microsoft has formalized that.
Just like we've seen vibe coding and vibe automation, we now have vibe editing, which is such good news for anyone wanting to build businesses and make money online. So in this video, I wanted to bring on Simon, a good friend of mine, who's been absolutely at the cutting edge of this new trend, to show us what Remotion is, how it works, and how to set it up for yourself so that you can start editing your own videos using Claude Code in just a few minutes. I hope you enjoy. Simon, mate, great to see you, and excited to get into this. You've been absolutely blowing my mind with some of the stuff you've been sending through the group chat. So wanted to bring you on and break down how you can use Claude Code to, with the combination of Remotion, to be able to generate videos as if you had a really good editor on your team. So this is absolutely cutting edge stuff, and I can't wait to get into it.
It's actually nuts, the things people have been cooking up. Like, I have some demos very recently right here.
So in 2025, I made $500,000 off Claude Code. This is a breakdown right here of where that money came from. A majority of that money came from the SaaS I built with Claude Code, which I made over $300,000 on. I also created a ton of content with and about Claude Code. In total, you can see how that content did for me. X content made me about $100,000. That's ad revenue and subscriptions, newsletter sponsorships and subscriptions, YouTube sponsorships and ad revenue, as well as a private community. All of this was driven by Claude Code, and I am very, very confident you can do something similar. In this video, I'm going to go over.
And NovaAct is one of those services. So let me step back and talk a little bit about that, of its, what it is. So NovaAct is basically an AWS service, and it allows you to deploy AI agents to basically interact with user interface workflows. So think about web pages as you're going through, and just like you would a human, you're taking a web page and you're going through, and let's take the Amazon shopping site, and you're shopping for something. You might enter, this is a service, or a product I want a coffee maker. You start looking through it, add it to your cart, check out, that kind of thing. So NovaAct is a service we have that helps automate some pieces of that, which is really cool. And it's part of our Nova family.
Awesome. So I know we just went through what Nova is in our simplest terms.
Video is about what AI tools to orchestrate to build your production app. I'll be showing you my own workflow to build apps that's the most up-to-date in 2026. You won't find any better solution, any fastest ways to reach this quality of design without knowing how to code and without spending 50 grand on app development. And for that mean, I'll be using a real example, because this is the exact process that I followed to build a quick service restaurant catering app. So let's dive into the very first step of the process. In the very beginning of any app development project, what you want to be clear of is actually the whole idea of what type of app you're building, what features.
If you're building a product, you need a proper design system, because without one, you will end up with a messy UI design that looks like 5 different people built it. In this video, I will show you my exact process, how I find design inspiration, how I use Figma Make to generate the design system, then how I build the UI pages and components to be production ready so you can use them in Cursor or whatever other IDE you're using. And as always, all the resources for this video are listed down below, so make sure to download them to follow along. Okay, so at this point, you should already know what you're gonna build, right? You should have ready your product requirements document, your user stories. You should know what each page of the UI will contain, the content, what components each page would have. And because now this step is about...
Wanted to wait a bit before making a video on Claude Bot, which has gotten a lot of attention recently as a great open source alternative to something like Claude Code. It's essentially an AI assistant that's deployed directly onto your own hardware, whether that's a Mac Mini or something like an RTX 4090 that can host Claude Bot, giving you full control, privacy, and zero reliance on cloud platforms to automate pretty much anything. CloudBot is positioned to be an AI that actually does automation. We've seen so many AI tools that promise that they can do automations locally, but this is something that truly does it. Things like clearing your...
Basically it. And also, yeah, please fix this README file. Just make it a little bit more attractive. This project is really awesome. And this one is definitely not deprecated. This one, like however old it is, it's probably still going to do its job. So you could plan around here many more features. I think this one is really good. I'm not sure like who is this creator. Never saw him on GitHub, on X or wherever. So really happy that I saw this project again. Let me give it a star. Awesome. Okay, let's see how many projects we have now. Refreshing the page 1 million times. Woo, we are jumping on 31. Awesome. Let's see, who do we have here? And yeah, it's like I need to to practice this one. Hello, Muad. Nice to see you here, my man. And Let's see. Yes.
Scroll down here. Kimi K2.5 is performing up with frontier models like GPT 5.1, Gemini 3 Pro, Claude Opus 4.5, and GPT 5.2. So you can see it's literally ranking at 47, number 5 on the list, which is just absolutely incredible. It's beating out Claude 4.5 Sonnet. It totally beats out Minimax M2.1. Wait, let's add Minimax, because I think that, like, in the context of like these cheaper open source models, I think we definitely want to add Minimax M2.1 and GLM 4.7 to this list to see, okay, how does this stack up to those models? So Minimax M2.1 you can see is back here at 40, and then GLM 4.7 is here at 42. So Kimi K2.5 is the number one open source model now, and in terms of like that cost affordability, I mean, look at that. I mean, 60 cents per million on the input, $3 per million on the output.
So in about 5 hours and 80 million tokens later, I've built myself a full executive assistant. His name is Klaus. He has his own email account, his own ClickUp account, and I treat him like I would treat a regular employee. He remembers everything about me, about the business, about our Q1 initiatives, and he actually built himself this dashboard so that I can manage things that he's doing. I can see all of the deliverables, I can see the action log, and I can drop him some notes in here. And I can also see him up in the top left, so when he's working or when he's thinking or when he's idle, or if he's spinning up sub-agents, I can see everything that he's actually doing live. And so this is awesome. I've had so much fun playing around with ClaudeBot. It's been all over my feed, which is why I wanted to play around with it, obviously, and we've seen some really, really cool use cases. So you've got some basic things like email cleanup, sending reminders, creating issues, helping with ideas, helping create reports.
Traycer AI has just released Epic Mode, and this is the workflow layer between your idea and your AI coding agent. AI coding agents like Cursor, Claude, and Windsurf are incredibly good at writing code now, but they still struggle with one critical thing, which is preserving intent. The why, the constraints, the edge cases, and the invisible rules often get lost in chat history or live only in someone's head. That's how the code drift happens. So that's why Traycer AI has released Epic Mode to solve this problem. All of these AI agents like Claude Code, Cursor, Windsurf, or Anti-Gravity are great at execution, but they are terrible at remembering context over time. When the intent is missing, you end up with features that technically work, but they don't match what you actually wanted. So Epic Mode turns that chaos into a structured, repeatable workflow that keeps intent front and center from idea to production. So instead of jumping straight into code, Traycer AI's Epic Mode starts with spec-driven development. We work with AI to create clear product requirements.
And that is not using plan mode, because when I started coding, you wrote a lot of the code manually. So you didn't have to plan too much. You just write a few notes and then build out the feature. Because you had a lot of control and you were doing it step by step, so basically you couldn't f it up too much. With AI, it's a lot different because it's like a train and it codes so fast, it can go in the wrong direction really quickly. And the way you circumvent that is focusing a lot on getting the AI to plan the project for you. And it really can feel like magic seeing this LLM just generating all this code. The reason why that it's better to get the AI to do it with plan mode, with things like UltraThink, get it to plan out the project for you, is that you can go back and forth with the AI, and also it will just discover edge cases and side effects which you'd not thought about. So things which will
from scratch using Rust. This is pretty insane. Of course, this has caught fire in the headlines and people are saying, we told you, AGI was around the corner. Developers, you're screwed now. Now all I need is a team of autonomous agents working around the clock using one of the best models available, and we can get rid of you all. Couple problems though. So this smart person at Embedding Shapes, they wrote a little post on this where they kind of outed the team at Cursor saying, hey, that sounded really cool. And you implied that you had a working browser. But in reality, it doesn't look like this is really working at all. And they even put out this little video where they show, hey, look, this cool browser we built right here. We built it in Rust. It actually works. Hey, it's not that great, but still.
Most people who use Claude Code almost never touch subagents, and when they do, they don't use it the way I'm about to show you in this video. Typically, if they're a developer, they're doing it for reviewing pull requests, running tests, running different code actions in parallel, and doing technical tasks in general. But here's what nobody's really talking about. The fact that you can use subagents for tons of non-technical work and get it done that much faster, more efficiently, and more importantly, without bloating your context window. And I'm talking about brainstorming, planning, and all kinds of decision making. You can literally build yourself an AI council with different perspectives, with different intentions and goals, so you can make the best decisions and the best plans possible, whether it's for a technical project or something personal or project management as a whole. And beyond just spinning them up and
For today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the new version of Qwen3 Max Thinking, released just a few minutes ago by Alibaba Cloud. Now, this is the high-end state-of-the-art performing model from Alibaba Cloud and in the Qwen family, and basically this is designed to compete with state-of-the-art frontier models. As we can see in this benchmark chart, it's stacked up against DeepSeek v3.2, Opus 4.5, GPT 5.2, and Gemini 3 Pro, and those are indicated in this graph just as gray, 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 and gray. With that, there are a couple of things I'd like to quickly mention before we look at this. One of those is I am working on a ClaudeBot video, being that it has generated so much hype that I would be foolish to not attempt to cash in on that. But I am going to try running it on the Strix Halo, which you may be able to see behind me.
According to Bloomberg, Sam Altman is trying to find the next batch of gullible investors to give him another $50 billion after burning through the money that they've collected only a few months ago, because the existing investors are now refusing to give AI companies even more money than they already have. 3 years after ChatGPT arrived, there is still no viable commercial model for LLMs. None of them are making any profits. In fact, the losses are only getting worse. And the users that use these products are refusing to pay to use AI models. So we have a bit of an issue, because not so long ago, it didn't matter that AI companies were burning hundreds of billions.
Okay, so Moonshot AI have dropped their latest flagship model, and this is the Kimi K2.5 model. And in this video, I'm going to show you not only the model, but also some really cool stuff that they've actually got with Agent Swarm. So the Kimi team reached out to me and gave me early access to actually try some of this out. And in this video, I want to show you what is actually cool with this model, way beyond just benchmarks and things like that. Okay, so first off, if we look at this, we'll actually see that this is not just one model. They've got multiple models in here. They've got the K2.5 Instant, it's like the Flash model, I guess you would say. They've got a thinking model. They've got an agent model, or their agentic model, which is working for things like slides, website.
Moonshot just dropped Kimi K2.5 with major upgrades to vision and tool use. Alibaba rolled out Qwen3 Max Thinking, built for long context reasoning and agent-style workflows. Anthropic turned Claude into a live workspace with apps like Slack and Figma inside chat. Microsoft started testing personality controls and memory updates in Copilot. Google is connecting AI Studio directly to Firebase for real app building. And xAI looks like it's preparing deep model control features inside Grok. A lot just changed across AI models, so let's get into it. Alright, let's start with the one that actually lit the fuse. Kimi K2.5 showed up the way the most serious software updates usually show up. Quietly. And then everyone starts... OpenAI just launched a free AI workspace called Prism that plugs GPT 5.2 directly into scientific papers. Microsoft just revealed a custom AI chip called Maya 200 that it says beats rival cloud processors on inference efficiency. The UAE released a fully transparent open model named K2 Think to compete with US and Chinese systems, and Yahoo rolled out a new AI search engine, Scout, powered by Claude and Bing, to challenge Google and Perplexity. Alright, let's start with OpenAI, because they just pushed AI deeper into the world of actual scientific work with something called Prism. Prism is a brand new AI-native workspace designed specifically for scientists, and it's available for free to anyone with a regular ChatGPT account. It runs
24 hours since its release. I didn't want to jump the gun and reported it on, hour one of its release, because often with these open source models, there's often some shenanigans that happens with the benchmarks. They do benchmark maxing. So when it comes out, you're like, wow, the open source, the Chinese models, they're caught up to their Western counterparts, right? It just broke the entire industry. And they seem impressive at first, but then a few weeks go by, a few months go by, and you just realize that you're not using it as much as the good old Claude and the ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, etc. And you can see that on Open Router AI. So notice, so this is kind of the total market share by tokens that are being used with these different model providers. Google is number one with 1 trillion tokens, almost a quarter of the total sort of token usage. Then Anthropic, OpenAI, xAI, and then in the number 5 spot, we see the first Chinese open source.
There are currently 800 million weekly active ChatGPT users. 800 million. This represents about 10% of the entire population of Earth. And that is just ChatGPT, one of many types of generative AI or Gen AI. The number one use of Gen AI in 2025 was companionship, therapy. 1 in 5 students have had or have friends who have had romantic relationships with AI. 1 in 8 adolescents use general purpose AI for mental health advice. Every 7 days, around 560,000 people may be exchanging messages.
If this sounds familiar, it's because it was actually announced a few months ago. Back in August, Google showed off Genie 3. And it was this sort of open world builder where you can give it an image and then you can move the character around in that image however you wanted. When they first showed this off, everybody was pretty blown away by what it was capable of, but we didn't have access to it yet. That changed this week. They finally made it available to users. Now, I did have a little bit early access. They did give it to me like, I don't know, 3 days or so before it actually went live to everybody, so I had a little bit of time to play with it. But as of this week, it's available to anybody who wants to use it if you're willing to pay $250 a month and be on the Google AI Ultra plan, and if you're in the US. So yeah, it's still pretty limited to...
الجانب النظري عندنا والجانب التطبيقي مثل باقي العلوم أيضا موجودة متوفرة في الذكاء الاصطناعي. هنا لازم احنا بالبداية لازم نفهم شنو التحول التقني اللي صارت في الأنظمة المتوفرة وشنو هو الذكاء الاصطناعي. حتى نفهمها، الذكاء الاصطناعي هو عبارة عن خوارزميات يعني algorithm، يعني artificial intelligence عبارة عن algorithms. خوارزميات شنو معناته؟ إذا نفتح القوس همين عبارة عن أوامر، بس هذه الأوامر فيها خاصية واحدة، لازم تكون متسلسلة ومتصلة مع البعض. يعني الأمر الأول لازم يكون متصل بالثاني بالثالث بالرابع وإلى آخره. إذا متكونة من مليون أمر.
Sort of the evolution of AI and cloud. I mean, my broad thematic is that there is a digital revolution like the industrial revolution of 130 years ago, where every economic process is digitizing. And that has just broad implications for where we're going to be 20, 30, 50 years from now, right? Where you need to have infrastructure at every layer. You need to have different kinds of data centers for machine and AI generation, for inference or accessing that content, for localized content and compute, massive fiber infrastructure to connect that, which I think we're now seeing happen. And you need to have endpoints, right? The mobile devices, which there's probably across, this audience, probably a 2 or 3 or 4 to 1 ratio of mobile devices to people, probably actually higher. And so there's tremendous growth that's going to happen. I think our job as investors in the private capital space is to sort of help bring capital efficiently.
Welcome to the second day of the AI DGGS workshop. This is an outreach event for the OGC AI DGGS for disaster management pilot. My name is Sina Tagavikish, and I am a R&D project manager with OGC. Before we actually commence with today's activities, I would like to mention some administrative remarks. Again, similar to yesterday, I would suggest that all attendees mute their microphones. The discussions and panel sessions will be conducted in an open format. So please do not hesitate to join in our
Okay, super simple. And so what else? What about the numbers? You curious about the numbers? Some people in this room are financially oriented, so bear with us, financial people. Here are the numbers. 75 to 80% of global knowledge workers are using AI at work. The majority of them started using it in the last 12 months. How many people is that? Way over 1 billion. Just started. What other technology in the history of humanity has been adopted at that rate? Nothing. It's the fastest adoption of any technology in the history of the planet. It's also the most disruptive when it comes to knowledge work. Okay, what do power users say happens to their work life? What do you think they say? Well, I'm just going to tell you what they actually say from
OpenAI switching on advertising inside ChatGPT is the moment when the AI industry's internal stress became visible from the outside. The decision arrived quietly, without celebration, without big framing, and without any attempt to dress it up as a breakthrough. It landed because the financial pressure had reached a point where delaying action no longer made sense. Running large-scale AI systems at global usage levels is brutally expensive, and the gap between how much people use these tools and how much money they generate has been widening rather than shrinking. OpenAI burned roughly $9 billion last year, and estimates for this year push that number far higher.
From Wall Street to rural America, today's AI is the economy, and markets have priced it like a miracle that can't fail.
Investors are really banking on incredible growth. Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, they are just committing billions and billions of dollars to capital expenditures and expected to continue to, raise those numbers over time.
The AI boom is more than just software, it's construction. So that's building out the data centers, that's securing the energy that's needed, the water that's needed.
But in this burgeoning industry, what goes around doesn't necessarily come around.
A precarious investment strategy is emerging.
Multi-billion dollars.
Don't worry about squirreling money away for retirement in 10 or 20 years. It won't matter. Musk's theory is basically that AI will become so capable that it'll drop the cost of everything so much that money won't really matter. Everyone will have universal high income. Diamandis, arguably best known in recent years as the guy who hosted a $30,000 per seat event in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic that resulted in the majority of attendees getting infected, hopped on the hype train too, explaining that he believes that AI will ultimately lead to basically demonetizing everything because the cost of labor has.
It is the result of a strategic decision to place digital transformation at the very heart of governance. In Ukraine today, digitalization is not an accessory, it is an infrastructure of survival. When administrative buildings are destroyed, services migrate to online. When physical archives are threatened, data is preserved in the cloud. When mobility becomes dangerous, interactions shift to secure digital environments. This has allowed Ukrainians to maintain access to essential services even under the hardest circumstances. We have taken bold steps that have made Ukraine a global digital tiger. We were the first country in the world to introduce digital passports with a full legal force. Millions of citizens use secure electronic identification.
60 to 70% of enterprise AI projects launched between 2024 and 2025 failed.
And not just failed, like underperformed.
No, exactly. They were scrapped, canceled. They just burned cash, tons of it, and produced absolutely nothing. So the mission for this deep dive isn't to hype up the age of abundance.
No.
It's to figure out why the vast majority of companies are crashing and burning on their way to get there.
And the answer really isn't what people think it is. I think everyone assumes that the companies that failed, well, they just didn't have the smartest AI.
Right, they didn't have the latest model.
Exactly. They think, oh, if we just had GPT-5 or Claude Next, this all would have worked. But this research, it shows the exact opposite. The failure isn't about the intelligence of any single model. It's all about the...
At the end of the day, an agent is so much more than an LLM call. It is really that interaction loop, taking action, making decisions. And when it comes down to it, an agent could be as simple as a for loop, sitting there processing until the LLM's done, but can be as complex as multiple integrated systems working together with tool calls that might run for days and days on end rather than instantaneous. I will call out here that when we begin to look at agents, though, we can break it down into three very simple categories: inputs, outputs, and tool calls. Basically, what do we need to provide into an agent at the beginning or provide to an agent during a conversation? What outputs do we expect from the agent itself, either mid-conversation or as part of a terminating event?
He's not talking about today's chatbots, or even slightly better versions of them. He's talking about what he calls powerful AI, the same thing he described back in Machines of Loving Grace. In simple terms, this is an AI system that's smarter than a Nobel Prize level human across most fields: math, biology, engineering, programming, writing, not just one thing, but broadly. It's not just something you talk to either. It has access to all the same digital tools a human has: the internet, code editors, mouse and keyboard control, video, audio, etc. And it can actually take actions in the world through those interfaces. It can be given tasks that take days or weeks, and it just goes off and does them autonomously, more like a highly capable employee than a question-answering tool. And while it doesn't have a physical body, it can control robots, lab equipment, or design new tools for itself, all through a computer. But one of the details that really changes the scale here is this. The same infrastructure used to train the model could be used to run millions of copies of it at once, each operating independently.
In 2026 than we were in 2023. What alarmed you enough to pen this essay now?
Yeah, so first of all, in terms of the movie reference, I mean, I was always a science fiction fan as a kid. So, I watched this movie when I was growing up, and just the idea it posed really seemed to fit the situation we're in with AI, where, we have this, we're starting to get these immense powers with AI. But our kind of institutions, our maturity as human beings and as a society, my question is, have we really caught up? It's a bit like a kind of teenager where you have all these new powers and abilities, mental and physical, but you haven't necessarily adapted to them yet. And so I feel like this is something now.
This is your big event. What's the message that you've really wanted to carry to the attendees here?
I would say, Eric, first, thank you for having me, and thank you to you for letting me crash the party.
Of course, I love it.
So,
we just talked to a 3-person company, so now we're going much larger.
Yes, sounds good, Eric. So, 65 days in, and one of the things that our previous CEO, Dev, and the entire team, we realized, so first of all, from just being in Silicon Valley for a long time, San Francisco feels like it's back. San Francisco is back.
Right.
During the pandemic, people went a little dark on San Francisco, but with this AI platform shift.
Level, data science and AI education shares objectives with many other curriculum, degree, and educational programs. We want, number one, personal growth, and number two, make sure that our students will be active members of society. But I think at this point in time, we also make sure that we empower our students so that they can shape the way technology will impact society. So we need to ask questions like, what type of society do we want, and how, by shaping technology in a certain way, we will see a difference. So, coming from a technical background, I am really, in computer science, working on multi-agent system for industrial.
On certain creativity measures, modern AI systems now outperform the average human. That sentence alone shifts the entire conversation, not because it means machines suddenly understand art or emotion, but because it forces us to confront something deeper. One of the core building blocks of creativity, the ability to generate ideas that are far apart from each other in meaning and context, turns out to be something machines can do extremely well. The task that revealed this looks simple on the surface. Participants are asked to come up with a small set of words that are as different from one another as possible. Not opposites, not related concepts, not words from the same category, but words that live far apart in meaning, usage, and context. The further apart those words are in semantic space, the higher the creativity score. It sounds almost
I have this 512 gigabyte Mac Studio to be the ultimate local LLM coding monster. But can it beat the state-of-the-art cloud-based Abacus AI Deep Agent? We're gonna find out who actually nails coding a web app. It's local hardware versus cloud deathmatch. Let's go. The first contender is my local setup. Everyone talks about running local AI, but usually they mean a tiny model. But when it comes to a large single-shotted code base, no. To get real coding performance, you need size. Here I'm running Qwen3 480 billion model. This is the MLX version, which is optimized for Apple Silicon. It's 270 gigabytes, and I'm giving it full context length of 262,000 tokens. There it is, an activity monitor.
Started as a pure edtech product. We sold the product to universities to augment writing centers. And only later, Grammarly turned into a consumer tool that scaled to where it is today.
Amazing. And I don't think there's anybody in the world who doesn't know who Grammarly are. I remember when I first started teaching, I don't think you could open a YouTube video without having an ad for Grammarly in a YouTube video. So you guys did an amazing job of raising awareness there. And I think as a result, probably everybody on their computer, if it's not active, it's on there somewhere, the Grammarly app. So yeah, let's get into that, because I know you guys have kind of come full circle recently, and some of the
1,400 now. I nearly edited the title, but it will be over 1,500 soon. So I feel like I need to set up some automation to do this. But congratulations, Alex, on the database and how much you've done and how much knowledge and wisdom there is in it.
Yeah, it's been great to see kind of, obviously, the more people are building things, we're seeing a lot of people writing about them, and even some failures. I guess we're going to talk about maybe some of the failures today. One slightly annoying thing that I've noticed is that the ChatGPT and Gemini Deep Research and so on, they've also really realized that this is a good source. So quite often I find if I'm doing some research into some topic, I'll just get the
Google's AI Studio might be the most underrated AI tool out there. And that's crazy because it handles what usually requires juggling multiple platforms. Professional image generation? Check. App development without code? Done. Cinematic video ads? All there. One tool, all browser-based. This is your complete beginner's guide to Google AI Studio. We're covering the newest Gemini features, the tools that actually matter for e-commerce, and 5 specific ways to automate parts of your business that are probably eating up your time right now. Stick around for the bonus tip. It's honestly the best part. All right, let's dive in. First things first, let's get you inside AI Studio. Head to AI Studio.
Comes into play. We built Grid as a spreadsheet. We wanted it to feel super intuitive. Brady can talk a little bit more about this in the Q&A, but we wanted Grid to feel approachable. We wanted it to look like something all of you had used before. And we wanted it to make it really easy to do 2 things. One was run AI at scale. So if you had a prompt or an agent, you'd be able to run it across a large set of data in a single click, rather than having to go off and do something programmatically or click a button every single time you wanted to trigger it. And then number 2 is, as you start thinking about building out some more of these multi-step workflows, we wanted to make it really easy to take context from one step of the workflow and pass it in as input to another step of the workflow. And so I'll show you a little bit about what we mean by that, but those are the 2 kind of key concepts that Grid has, outside of it being a spreadsheet, being intuitive.
It's giving me 7515.4.
That's better than my first solution.
Yes. So
I just used copilot.microsoft.com.
yeah. So maybe they have.
If I use it with smart thinking, it also gets a better answer.
It's too close, this one.
Yeah, it's very close. And I'm not even using GPT-5 here for this Copilot. If I click on that, I'll probably
Let's see with the GPT-5.
Yeah. Multimodal learning. So the idea of integrating different views of patients or animals or diseases to have a more comprehensive understanding of what's going on. For example, understanding the different why a patient is responding to drug and another similar patient is not responding to drug with the same disease. Or why you are diagnosing a patient, two patients with the same disease. They have similar biomarkers, but they're completely different trajectories. And the question is why this is happening. So the idea of putting together a lot of data from different sources to this better understanding goes back to decades, centuries. But it has always been.
That's a while ago. It's a while, yeah. Tom, I was actually studying economics at the Vienna University of Economics Business Administration. And I was at the final stage of my study of majoring in investment banking and statistics. And I got in connection with neural networks for application for credit worthiness of companies. And this actually changed a little bit my perspective because I was all the time very strongly quantitative involved with a lot of quantitative models, regression models and auto-regressive models and factor models. And this kind of a technology, neural networks,
The overall goal of my companies is to maximize the future of civilization, like basically maximize the probability that civilization has a great future, and to expand consciousness beyond Earth. So if you take SpaceX, for example, that SpaceX is about advancing rocket technology to the point where we can extend life and consciousness beyond Earth to the moon, to Mars, eventually to other star systems. And I think we should always view consciousness, life as we know it, as precarious and delicate, because to the best of our knowledge, we don't know of life anywhere else. You know, I'm often asked, are there...
happen next year. It's not going to happen in 2 years because we need a few conceptual breakthroughs for that. And those are things I've been working on and I'm still working on.
So what do most leaders misunderstand about today's AI capabilities, and why does that misunderstanding matter for policy, regulation, and capital allocation decisions being made right now?
Okay, we're not going to get to human intelligence, human-level intelligence or superintelligence by scaling up LLMs or by even refining the paradigm. There is a need for a change of paradigm. And I've been saying this, you know, for a number of years now. And I think we're starting to see the limits of the LLM paradigm. A lot of people this year have been talking about agentic systems and basing agentic systems on.
I found a device that turns any bike into an electric bike in under 2 minutes. Another one that's basically a robot cameraman for your phone. And this thing that looks like a kid's toy but can actually hack into Wi-Fi networks. 10 gadgets you've probably never seen before, and honestly, some of them are going to blow your mind. Links to everything are in the description because some of this stuff you're going to want immediately. Let's start with something that looks like it came from a cyberpunk movie. The Sound Blaster Reimagine is what happens when audio engineers get tired of boring mixing boards. It's a completely modular audio hub where you literally snap magnetic blocks together like high-tech Lego. Want a volume
stairs to clean the next floor. The Roborock Saros rover just proved that robot vacuums are finally evolving into actual robots. Back at CES 2025, the Saros Z70 surprised us with a robotic arm that could pick up laundry, but 1 year later, the rover has shocked us even more by growing actual legs. It features a wild wheel-leg architecture that allows the entire chassis to lift up, extend, and physically climb stairs, just like a Boston Dynamics robot. It doesn't just clean your floor, but can actually follow you upstairs to the second floor without being carried. The articulated legs allow it to tackle steep slopes, hop over high thresholds, and navigate complex obstacles that would trap any standard bot. Since it's still a concept, unveiled it.
Thanks, Travis. So we've updated the Tesla mission to amazing abundance, and this is intended to send a message of optimism about the future. I think we're most likely headed to an exciting, amazing era of abundance, and I think with the advent or with the continued growth of AI and robotics, I think we actually are headed to a future of universal high income, not universal basic income, but universal high income. I mean, there's going to be a lot of change along the way, but that is what I see as the most likely outcome. So I think that it makes sense to update Tesla's mission to reflect that goal.
Journal reports that more than 70% of high-end memory chips, as they define them, produced by all manufacturers in 2026 will go to data centers. That is for both AI use cases and conventional use cases, but they're talking about high-end memory chips for this specifically. The International Data Corporation, or IDC, is projecting shipments in the PC market will decline by 4.9% to 8.9% in 2026, which is even worse than its initial forecast of 2.4% decline in November 2025. There is somewhat of a natural cycle here, a refresh cycle, especially as we exit the launch of the new GPUs. But this is a lot worse than normally from what we can remember, and that's probably because of something incredibly simple, which is people can't afford things, and that's for a lot of reasons. There are macro reasons for that, and there are reasons like the memory companies.
Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. The CEOs and board members of multiple tech manufacturing and AI companies formed a circle around the mutilated and corpse-like body of the consumer PC hardware market this week, grotesquely contorting their bodies and leering greedily as their impish dance presumably set the seal on some abominable pact or ritual, sacrificing the once beloved sector to the cruel and dispassionate data center gods. Metaphorically, of course. But while this ongoing tech travesty takes place in full view of our kith and kin, the very people responsible are trying to piss on our legs and tell us it's raining, as if any complaints about AI's impact are hurting society, when more and more flagrant misuses of it keep popping up every day. But okay, if you can't say anything...
Hello and happy Monday, open source besties. My name is Gabby Shires and I'm a DX engineer here at Vercel. And today I am here with Grim, who is a maintainer at Bounty, and I'm super excited. Grim, would you like to say hello?
Hi.
Hi. All right, so where are you tuning in from and what time is it there?
I'm tuning in from Oregon. I woke up at 8. It's 9 a.m.
Oh,
just for you.
Yeah, and so thank you so much for waking up early. I'm tuning in from Cleveland, Ohio, and it's about noon or 12:30 for me. So kind of got a late start today, but I'm super excited to be here. And Grim, would you like to introduce yourself and introduce what you are building? And
AI, yeah, they're doing another generative AI in your video games thing, and this allegedly will be one that's capable of playing games better than you. So not only is there the AI in gaming discussion we've been having, there's this version of AI in gaming, because all that I want to do is buy a game for full price and then have my PlayStation play the game for me, which I suppose is a smart reframing of the brand PlayStation. Okay, let's get into it. The patent. So, there's a newly released patent. It is called WO20-250-80-356, and it was spotted by VGC whenever it was published a few weeks back at the World Intellectual Property Organization. Exciting stuff. Now, it was
employee productivity inherently leads to a smaller workforce when we assume the amount of work stays the same. We are currently witnessing the industrialization of white-collar work. AI is reducing the need for human labor the same way as the steam machine was decimating the production workforce in the late 1800s. Wow. I mean, it's a really good point. I think if you follow the news, you can see that a lot of companies are in the midst of laying off. And in some cases, a lot of times, these are the same companies that were kind of touting how great AI is going to be. And then they're cutting people, and then they're having massive software issues right after the fact. A lot of people, for instance, are talking about the recent Microsoft Windows bugs in which I think the restart button or the shutdown button stopped working or something.
In 1950s time, Alan Turing, he actually had written one article named like Computing Machinery and Intelligence. And then there was a test which is like now called Turing test, which is being used for different criteria of intelligence, right? And we try to judge the like outcome of any computing system where the conversational content alone, which cannot be distinguished whether it is by a program or by real human. So if we cannot distinguish, then we can say like this particular system passed the Turing test, right? So that was the first. And then Professor John McCarthy, he mentioned about this term in 1956, right? So it's the era.
So what exactly problem that these RAG agents solve? So the problem is that whenever we are working with any model, let's say GPT or LLM, they are great at giving answers where the data or whatever answer which is available in the public domain. But let's say we are asking anything which is very private. So what happens with these LLMs or what happens with these LLMs, instead of saying, I don't know about this specific answer, they will actually find out something very, very irrelevant and will come up with certain responses. So the problem is that their knowledge is limited and they don't have the access to our private data. So I can show you one of the
right way. Let's get started. Step 1. Basics. Look, we have to start with basics. Don't jump around until your basics or fundamentals are clear. If you still lack some knowledge about the basics, it becomes a weak foundation on which we're trying to build our empire. Think about it like this. You wouldn't try to build a house starting from the roof, right? You need a solid foundation first. The same applies to AI. I see so many people jumping straight into ChatGPT or trying to build complex models without understanding what's actually happening under the hood. And you know what happens? They get stuck, frustrated, and eventually give up. So what are the basics? Simple. Just understand the real meaning behind these fancy words: AI, machine learning, neural networks, Gen AI, agentic AI, and LLMs, etc. Then see how they actually work and what their top 3 use cases are. Let me break this down for you.
You can use artificial intelligence, or AI, to help you along the way. Think of this course as your guide for using AI to make your job search easier and more effective. You'll learn by watching demos, and then you'll get to practice using tools that can simplify the process. By the end of the course, you'll have identified your transferable skills, built a career identity statement and job search plan, and assembled a refined resume that's customized for different jobs. You'll have curated a professional online profile and put together an application tracker. You'll also learn best practices for networking, develop a 20-second professional pitch, and will be prepared to interview confidently. Plus, as a bonus, you'll gain a library of AI prompts that will help you continue collaborating with AI during your job search. You can use this job search roadmap to follow your progress. It shows the different activities you'll complete.
But it's this idea that just AI these days is just eating all of these SaaS products. It just means you just cannot compete. I believe we're moving into an era of like personalized applications. If you know what you want, it's able to, there's enough applications out there, it can get a framework for how to build it, and then it can personalize it to your needs. So you can have your own meditation app based on exactly what you want.
Here's Seb and I just crawling the web, right? And just kind of overwhelmed as to the sheer capacity of things that we can talk about. I mean, it is freaking endless, my friend, like endless. Welcome back to the show, by the way.
Oh, man, it's good to be back. And
excel, because right now there's an equal level of playing field. Seniors have knowledge and they have history, but they don't have experience with tooling. So experience with tooling is where you as a junior can be equal. If you can teach how to use and how to leverage tooling compared to a senior, or educate a senior on the usage based on your own experience, then that is extremely valuable. I feel like these toolings are evolving. I feel like these tools are evolving, but they are here to stay. I've been a big fan of Claude Code. Open Code, I haven't tried out yet. Cursor, I've seen many awesome things, and I know people that are extremely excited about look and feel, speed, and effectiveness of the tooling. I feel like the tools are going to evolve and some principles will stay. So use that to your leverage if you are a junior. The funny thing is you can also leverage the tooling to excel in your own learning path and in your own
process. The first step is plan. In the plan step, you provide as much context as you can to your agentic coding tool about the feature you want built out or the analysis you want it to do. And then you have your agentic coding tool simply make a plan about how it's going to go about implementing this feature or analysis. In the plan step, you might ask it to study your code base, do some research on the wider internet about some concepts relevant to what it is that you want it to do, or research best practices as they apply to your project. Once you feel confident about the plan, you can move on to the next step, actually doing the work. From your perspective, this step is very easy. You just give your plan to the agent, it creates a to-do list, and then you step back as it goes through that list and does the work. There are nuances that help out, like giving the coding agent the ability to verify